Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. God bless you, Pastor David Trainum, coming into your heart, your life, your car, your home, once again, telling you that it's a blessing to speak into your life. In a couple of seconds, we're going to be talking about the topic that I mentioned as I signed off last week, which is the system of racism. And as I said, I'm not trying to get into all the specifics of it, but just to let you know that we really do go through racism. There are systems in place that's kind of keeping us from accomplishing everything that we want. And the only thing that's going to allow us to press through is persistence, doing things right the right way. Okay. And so again, if this is a blessing to you, please take a moment to like the page, subscribe to the page, leave a comment so that others can be encouraged as well as myself. Okay. So let's get right into the teaching today, the system of racism. Now, the term systemic racism has been used over the years, with many people having a limited understanding of it. And although there are many articles published on the subject and it is identified as an unnecessary evil, it still exists and is woven into the fabric of the nation. This system of racism produced a glass ceiling that covers the entire culture of, especially, and this is what I'm speaking to today, African American people, as well as many other ethnic groups, because it keeps us as a culture at a disadvantage. It is subtly hidden across many segments of society, and it is widespread in our banking system, our real estate system, our business system, our jobs or our occupations, and healthcare systems. And they clearly reveal the disparities in how Blacks and other marginalized people of color are treated. And what must be stated up front is that not all non Black people are racist. Not all non Black people are racist. It's a matter of fact, some of them have backed us. They have marched with us. They have done what they can to try to understand us. And some of them have done what they can to reverse some of the discriminatory laws that's set up. And so, not all non Black people are racist. However, not all Black people are racist either, because we got to understand that there is racism within the Black culture. And just like not all non-Black people are racist, not all Black people are racist, and neither are all white people racist. And we would not have made the inroads into this system of racism that we have made if it were not for our brothers and sisters of Caucasian descent. Many white people marched with us, as I just said. Some were injured because of their stand, and some even died as a result of fighting for equality. And in the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who many of us, if not most of us, respect, our responsibility is to not judge people by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And although this statement is often directed at African Americans, it is a profound statement, and it should be used as a guide in how we're going to interact with one another, no matter what color or ethnic group someone may represent. We must select our enemies carefully, as they are the ones that will siphon off much of our time and energy. And when the enemy is identified, there are two things that can occur. First, you can ignore that the enemy exists. And then, secondly, you can spend so much time fighting a losing battle that you lose sight of your purpose in changing the way the system is set up. You see, temporary victory never changes a permanent system. And therefore, you have to keep your eyes on the prize and not be distracted. And this is what makes what you are advocating for more effective. You're focused, you're not distracted, you're keeping your eyes on the prize. Now, spiritually, because I believe that all of the types of racism has an invisible enemy, and it's a spiritual fight that people who walk around in human flesh are carrying out. Some of them think that it's right. They're thinking, it's maybe warped, but a lot of times they think that how they're thinking and what they're doing and the laws they're putting in place are right. And some of them have done it purposely. And so spiritually, you can fight an invisible enemy with carnal armaments of war. And the same holds true when we're fighting the enemy of racism, because you cannot see the enemy of racism, you see the effects of it. And although you cannot see it per se, these effects that you see, they come through the laws, the policies, and the prejudicial statements that many people make. And so you must continue to fight for justice by claiming the ladder of success and gaining positions of authority, which actually positions you to help foster lasting change. Marching and rioting, as I've been saying, it does not give lasting results. I've been saying this over the last maybe 2 or 3 teachings, and I've said it many times in the past. In 2021, and I gave this example 2 weeks ago, we experienced unrest in our city and unrest around the country, here and around the nation. Because of those marches and riots, concessions were made by governing officials in corporate America that gave the groups what they asked for. However, what is not recognized is that within 3 years, some of those concessions have been walked back. And diversity officers that corporate America had put up in their institutions have had their positions eliminated. The policies established that were meant to assist Blacks have been put on the back burner, and things are slowly reverting back to how it was prior to those riots and those marches. And the question is, why did this happen? And my answer is, there is no easy one. However, as long as the fox is guarding the hen house, the chickens will always be subject to the desires of those who are guarding the gate of the city. Therefore, to bring lasting change, although it is not as vocal and it does not get the news coverage as a demonstration does, real change comes from the boardrooms of corporate America and the political offices around the nation. Real change is made by people who meet behind closed doors and rolls out policies and laws that they think will be most beneficial to the masses. And until we as Black and brown people and the people who support our efforts, until we get into these positions of authority and we hold our counterparts on those boards accountable to make the right decisions while working within the structure that's set up, and that's important. We have to work within the structure that's set up, and until that happens, no lasting change will be made. Because it's important to work within the structure that is set up. And the reason is, if you do not, it gives them cause to relieve you of your position. This is true in corporate America or as a politician who risks being voted out by their constituents. And although the way Barack Obama conducted his life and demonstrated his leadership ability while president of the United States will never be fully understood, he was a master at working within the law to bring about the changes that he advocated for. Some people say he could have done more. That can be true, or I should say that can be said of any president. Anybody that's in a place of authority that has to have the backing of 2 other entities. He had to have the backing of the House and the Senate. And so This could be said of anybody. However, he was a master at it. And the other part is this: the nation, and we must never forget this, it's not set up as a monarch or a dictatorship. And the president cannot do what he pleases and do so while working within the context of the law. And we see that, when somebody is a rogue president, they can pretty much do what they want, but will spend years and multiple millions of dollars in court trying to undo the damage that has been done. And so, although attempts have been made to convert our system of checks and balances into a modern dictatorial society, that is not how democracy was intended. So, addressing racism, inequity on a national scale, it takes convincing the House, the Senate, and the Supreme Court that things need to be changed. A law-proof plan must be put in place to implement and sustain any changes that you want to make. And this is what happened with the Affordable Care Act during the Obama administration. It was foolproof, and therefore it withstood a myriad of challenges by its opponent all the way through the Supreme Court. And the same thing must happen when it comes to addressing the system of racism. Our answer must go beyond the desire for reparations. And, believe me, if they were to say, I'm going to give you reparations, I'll be one of the first people in line, because my forefathers, they helped to build this nation. They were the slaves down in Virginia. They were the slaves that helped make some of these slave owners multiple millions of dollars. And, most likely they're still reaping the benefits from it while we got nothing. And so our answer must go beyond the desire for those reparations. And it also must go beyond the desire for diversity training or equal employment opportunities. But I do believe it's a great start. A viable system must be put in place that will subvert the current policies and establish concrete policies and laws that hold the lawbreakers accountable when the line is crossed. And this was one of the weaknesses of the laws that were put in place after slavery ended. It was evident when fair housing, employment, and banking laws were passed in the 60s. And although these were concrete laws intended to level the playing field, giving blacks an equal chance, you got to understand that laws cannot replace a darkened heart. See, and as I end, I say this: the things that were put on paper were not enforced because there was no accountability back then. And the bankers and the realtors, they still did what they wanted to do. All you got to do, I'm telling you, you Google this stuff and you'll see that it's actually the truth. And although consequences were in place to punish the lawbreakers, they were able to continue their oppressive agendas without suffering penalties for these obstructions of justice because they were not held accountable. And this lack of enforcement kept people of color at a disadvantage, especially when it came to having a better quality of life and the opportunity to raise their economic standard. Therefore, what happened was there were these lines that were put around the places where African Americans would live. We call it redlining. Now we call it redlining, because of the realtors and the real estate market, not allowing many Black people to go into certain areas, or let me put it this way, banking institutions not investing money in certain areas that are predominantly occupied by African Americans. You see, and this lack of enforcement kept us at a disadvantage. And what they did was they kind of made prisons within geographical areas. And they allowed us to live in houses that we did not build and we did not own. And therefore, we did not have generational wealth to turn over to our children and our grandchildren. You see, we must have a better quality of life. And in order to have a better quality of life, we must have the opportunity to raise our economic standard. And this is why we must come to understand the role that banking, business, and real estate has in our nation. Want to stop here? We're going to pick up next week talking about this system of racism. And I believe that it's going to help spark something in you that says, yes, the system must change. But until it does, I'm going to work within that system to make my life better. And so, Pastor David, signing off today. Again, thanking you for tuning in, thanking you for being a part of my life. Again, I love you. I trust that God is going to continue that work that He started in you until the day of Christ, and He's going to give you wisdom beyond your years. God bless you, and we will see you next week.